I don't want to waste your time, so there won't be an intro. TSM is currently undefeated in Season 11 of the North American Pro League, and they already have more points than they did at the end of Season 10. So, how did they do it? In order to answer this question, it is very easy to jump to a very easy conclusion, but I want to take a more nuanced look. Yes, it's true. A big part of TSM's success is the fact that Merc, Geo and Achieved have been gunning down everyone else. And even though Rainbow can be described as a strategy game, the fact remains that 99% of all rounds are won by the team that got 5 kills. And turns out, TSM is really good at getting 5 kills. Now, you are probably thinking about Merc or Geo going nuts, walking into a site, getting 3 kills and just carrying the whole thing on their own. But if you only look at these flashy rounds, you miss half of the story. A lot of the time, it is actually impossible to determine a singular reason of why a round was won. Look at this round right here. You have to imagine it a bit like an avalanche. When it starts out, it's just a tiny bit of innocent snow falling down a mountain. That would be the opening kill for Merc, right? Nothing special. But that got the ball rolling. Bolo gets the second kill, and now you force the defenders to make plays that they otherwise wouldn't have. So Merc gets another kill, and suddenly you've got the whole avalanche coming for Legion and Jaeger. On their own, none of the kills leading up to that were really that impressive. But in combination, it's just unstoppable. And I feel like a lot of TSM rounds go like this, where Merc, Geo and Achieved just get these seemingly small kills, and then the advantage just builds up and up and up and up, and then crushes the defenders. And when you combine this with the fact that sometimes Merc and Geo are just the entire avalanche on their own, you get the ingredients for a really successful team. Just look at the stuff they can pull off for a second. And they're not just getting the easy kills either. Out of all the major regions, TSM has won the most 1vx situations by far. Geo alone has more clutches than the entire roster of EG, Tempo Storm, E-United, Reciprocity or Space Station. And winning a 1vx is typically synonymous with winning a round that you weren't supposed to win. So doing it really is like the essence of individual contribution, and there is no shortage of that on TSM. So up until now, I painted a picture of TSM being a very individually skilled team that are winning rounds through winning both the high and the low impact gunfights. And at a first glance, it seems like that's it. But if you take a deeper look at it, you can actually see that they are in fact playing around a strategy. Maybe it's not a checklist with 20 items, but as long as they have 5 men up, you can always see them pursuing a goal. And honestly, that's not something the other frag-focused teams like X-Giants or Team Reciprocity can really say about themselves. Look at this round right here, Consulate Lobby Attack. Recently, a lot of teams have started playing this way, where they just rappel on the windows hoping to get frags. But TSM actually has a pre-planned way of getting rid of the defenders that are usually unreachable. Sledge is nading from below, and Zofia is impacting the floor right next to one of those safe corners, and they managed to find their opening that way. Other teams would have just waited until the defenders make a move, but TSM makes that move happen themselves. But what really sold me on that one was their game this week against Dark Zero. Up until this point, they hadn't played Clubhouse or Cafe, which are the two most challenging maps in terms of strategy and coordination. And I was especially concerned about their ability to play the various mini-games of Siege. What I mean by that are the kind of situations that repeat all the time when a certain bomb site is played, like the attackers trying to nade out the yellow stairs player on Consulate, or attackers trying to open walls that are impact and bandit trickable, or the attackers trying to get control of server stairs on a bank basement attack. These are the kinds of situations where the teams that are weak strategically struggle a lot. And especially concerning the server stairs one, we saw them have some troubles in their game against EG. But honestly, once they got to Clubhouse, they were on top of things. Even with the Thatcher ban, they managed to open pretty much everything they wanted to open. And they showed up strategically as well, especially with their cache attacks, and here it's worth to take a deeper look. They open CC Wall with Maverick and Sophia, while Buck, Hibana and IQ are taking control of Master. Once they have construction control, Buck opens the wall above cache and throws a nade over the wall to deny Bandit or Kaid tricking. After Hibana opened the wall into cache, you can see Sophia pushing into stock and destroying the floor below the green box, which makes it so defenders cannot play in cache. And then, to top it off, they go for a plant and get it down in a 4v4 situation. So if that doesn't convince you that TSM can also play the strategic game, then nothing will. If you remove the nameplates here, everyone would bet that this was an attack played by Team Empire. So now we know that TSM is actually quite good at the strategic part of Rainbow, especially at the macro part of it, which refers to picking the correct strategy before the round even begins. But now I want to focus on the micro strategy part, which refers to making the correct decisions during the round, in situations that you can't really plan for, like when you are in a 3v2 for example. Here we have a 3v2 situation on a bank basement attack, and instead of trying to push a shotgun pulse on server stairs, they decide to drop CC hedge and instead go for kills on the other side of the map. Doesn't work out in the end, but it's a smart play nonetheless. Or this one right here, where they are initially trying to clear CEO on a Teller's Archive attack, but then, as they are using their drones, they see that Tempo Storm doesn't seem to have many players on site. So instead of playing into the stack, they decide to rush site. Which was made possible because of good mid-round decision making, but also because they used their drones to get the necessary information. And that leads me to my next point. Because of the limitations of the spectator system, it's basically impossible to evaluate a team's droning. But what I can tell you is that TSM is actually really good at setting up drones to watch their flanks. Look at this right here. Sophia is rappelling on lobby west side, and she has a drone below the police car to watch her flank. And Sledge is in electric, having drones in both cafeteria and bottom server stairs. And later on, he uses that info to get a free kill. And that's not limited to bank CEO attacks. You can observe the same thing on Villa and Clubhouse too. To be fair, they don't always put that much effort into protecting their flanks, but it happens often enough to be called a pattern. So as you can see, TSM is not just Merc, Geo and Achieved gunning everyone down. Sure, that's a part of their success, a big part even, but they certainly aren't brainless. They have good macro strategy, they are good at playing the mini games, they have good mid-round decision making, and they seem to have good droning too. And it's really the combination of all of that which makes TSM the best North American Pro League team. As for the reasons behind this somewhat sudden success, I think a lot of the credit has to go to Geo, who replaced Gotcha at the start of the season. Historically, this idea of replacing a more support-oriented player like Gotcha with a player who undoubtedly has more gun skill like Geo has been working out really well for quite a lot of teams, and TSM is no exception. But Geo is not only bringing the frags and clutches, he also brings a lot of experience and in-game leader qualities to the team, and I imagine that this is helping them out a lot. The second change they made this season was bringing on Bagel as a coach, and that seems to work out quite well too. It's pretty much impossible for outsiders to rate the quality of a coach, but seeing their success this season compared to last season, it makes a lot of sense to credit him too. So, what do I expect from TSM coming into the Invitational? A lot actually. I think anything below semifinals would be a pretty big disappointment. And I actually have them in my top 2 for winning the whole thing. I think that they have the necessary gun skill to compete with every team in the tournament, which is what sets them apart from teams like Space Station. But at the same time, they are playing on a pretty high level strategically speaking, which gives them the edge over all the other gun skill dependent teams like Rogue for example. And I think that they combine both of these aspects well enough to be called a favorite to win. Alright, so that's it for the video. On Thursday, I will upload another video where I go a bit more in depth into what I expect from the Invitational. But until then, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learned something new. Thanks for watching.